On this day in history, we remember the remarkable individuals who shaped our world. Welcome to Who Died Today in History, where we honor their legacies. From artists to leaders, their impact lives on. If you find their stories meaningful, like, subscribe, and hit the bell to stay connected. Emmet Walsh, the esteemed character actor known for his extensive work in film and television, passed away on March 19, 2024 at the age of 88. He died of cardiac arrest at Northwestern Medical Center in St. Albans, Vermont. His passing marked the end of a career that spanned over 5 decades, during which he became one of Hollywood's most recognizable and respected supporting actors. Walsh's death was a natural one, yet it symbolized the closing of an era in Hollywood, the era of the true character actor. In a time when the film industry is increasingly dominated by franchises and social media-driven celebrity culture, his career was a testament to the power of dedicated, nuanced performance. He was never the lead star, but was often the scene stealer, embodying a class of actors who brought realism and depth to every role. Whether as a corrupt detective in Blade Runner, a sleazy private investigator in Blood Simple, or a comedic presence in The Jerk. His passing underscored the value of actors who built careers not on fame, but on skill, hard work, and a commitment to craft. The immediate response to his death was an outpouring of tributes from fans, fellow actors, and filmmakers. Many noted that his ability to fully inhabit a role, no matter how small, set him apart in an industry that often prioritizes marquee names over talent. The loss of Walsh was particularly felt by those who appreciate the art of subtle, character-driven storytelling, as he represented a vanishing breed of performers who brought authenticity to every project. His death, while not shifting the trajectory of history in a dramatic way, reinforced the lasting importance of character actors in Hollywood's legacy. Unlike stars whose fame is fleeting, Walsh's contributions endure in the collective memory of cinephiles and in the countless films he helped define. His performances will continue to be studied and celebrated, reminding audiences that sometimes the most unforgettable figures on screen are not the ones in the spotlight, but those working just beyond it. Ultimately, Walsh's passing reflects humanity's deep connection to the arts and our desire to honor those who shape storytelling in profound ways. He may not have been immortalized in towering monuments, but his legacy lives on in the films that bear his indelible mark. Reems, the controversial yet pivotal figure in the history of adult cinema, passed away on March 19, 2013 at the age of 65. He succumbed to pancreatic cancer in Salt Lake City, Utah, marking the end of a tumultuous life that mirrored the shifting cultural landscapes of his era. His death, though natural, carried symbolic weight, as he had long represented the battle between personal redemption and the enduring stigma of a scandalous past. Reems rose to notoriety as the male lead in Deep Throat, 1972, a film that became both a cultural phenomenon and a lightning rod for moral and legal battles. At the height of America's sexual revolution, he found himself entangled in a federal obscenity trial, the first actor ever prosecuted for performing in a pornographic film. His conviction in 1976, later overturned, exposed the contradictions of an era grappling with shifting social mores, the limits of free speech, and the role of government in regulating morality. Despite his legal vindication, Reems struggled with the aftermath of his notoriety. He was blacklisted from mainstream Hollywood, leading to years of alcohol abuse and personal decline. However, his eventual turn to Christianity and sobriety in the 1980s marked a personal transformation, one that contrasted sharply with his former public persona. His death in Utah, far removed from the industry that defined him, was emblematic of his journey, one that had taken him from cultural infamy to quiet redemption. The immediate response to his passing was subdued compared to his earlier notoriety. Unlike many figures whose deaths amplify their legend, Reems had long been a relic of a bygone era, his fame fading as pornography became mainstream and detached from its countercultural roots. Still, his legacy remains deeply tied to the discussions of free speech, censorship, and the evolving attitudes toward adult entertainment. His death invites reflection on humanity's complex relationship with morality and memory. Once vilified as a symbol of corruption, Reems ultimately became a cautionary tale of fame's fleeting nature and society's evolving moral compass. Though he may never be immortalized in statues or literary tributes, his story endures as a key chapter in the cultural upheavals of the 20th century. Paul Scofield, the revered British actor known for his commanding stage presence and deep, resonant voice, passed away on March 19, 2008, at the age of 86. His death was attributed to leukemia, marking the end of a life dedicated to the pursuit of artistic excellence rather than celebrity. Unlike many actors of his stature, Scofield eschewed Hollywood's limelight, choosing instead to craft a career defined by integrity, intellectual rigor, and an unwavering commitment to the stage. His passing symbolized the gradual fading of a generation of classically trained actors who prioritized the art of performance over commercial appeal. Scofield was best known for his portrayal of Sir Thomas More in A Man for All Seasons, 1966, a role that earned him an Academy Award and remains one of the most celebrated performances in film history. His depiction of More, a man who chose principle over self-preservation, mirrored Scofield's own approach to life and career. In an era increasingly dominated by mass media and celebrity culture, he stood apart, rejecting roles he found unworthy and declining knighthood, a decision that baffled many but was consistent with his unpretentious nature. The immediate response to his death was one of quiet reverence rather than widespread public mourning. Unlike many actors whose deaths reignite their popularity, Scofield's passing served as a reminder of an already distant era, one in which theater was the pinnacle of artistic achievement. His influence, however, endures in the countless actors who continue to revere his performances as a gold standard of stage and screen acting. Scofield's death invites reflection on how we remember those who shun personal glorification in favor of artistic integrity. In an industry where fame often eclipses substance, he remains an exemplar of devotion to craft. His legacy is preserved not through tabloid nostalgia, but in the enduring impact of his performances, particularly in Shakespearean and historical dramas. His memory lives on in the reverence of actors, scholars, and theater-goers who continue to be inspired by his work. While he may not be immortalized in statues or grand retrospectives, Paul Scofield remains an indelible figure in the history of performance, proof that greatness can exist quietly without the need for spectacle. Cesare Danova, the Italian-American actor known for his suave screen presence and versatility, passed away on March 19, 1992, at the age of 66. His death was sudden, the result of a heart attack suffered while attending a meeting of the Academy of Motion Picture Arts and Sciences in Los Angeles. His passing was emblematic of a career spent in the heart of the entertainment industry, where he was respected for his professionalism and enduring charm rather than overwhelming fame. Danova's career reflected the shifting landscape of Hollywood throughout the mid-20th century. He began as a leading man in Italian cinema before transitioning to Hollywood in the 1950s, when foreign actors with distinct European appeal were in high demand. His roles in films like Cleopatra, 1963, where he starred opposite Elizabeth Taylor, and later Viva Las Vegas, 1964, alongside Elvis Presley, positioned him within the glamour of classic Hollywood. Yet as the industry evolved, Danova adapted, taking on supporting roles in both television and film, demonstrating the resilience required to survive in a fickle industry. The immediate aftermath of his death was marked by tributes from colleagues who recognized him as a consummate character actor whose contributions often went underappreciated. Unlike actors whose deaths revived their careers posthumously, Danova's passing was a quiet closing to a career that had already begun to fade from public consciousness. However, his work remains embedded in film history, particularly among enthusiasts of classic Hollywood and international cinema. Danova's death serves as a reminder of the many talented actors who, despite their skill and longevity, do not achieve the same level of cultural immortality as their more famous contemporaries. His passing underscores the transient nature of fame and the way Hollywood often remembers its stars selectively, favoring those who fit into a specific narrative of legend and reinvention. Nonetheless, Danova's contributions are not forgotten. He is remembered through his filmography, a testament to the golden age of Hollywood's global reach and the enduring appeal of character actors who shaped cinematic history. While his name may not dominate retrospectives, his presence in beloved films ensures that he remains a part of cinema's vast and intricate tapestry. Arthur C. Clarke, one of the most visionary science fiction writers of the 20th century, passed away on March 19, 2008, at the age of 90 due to respiratory complications and heart failure. His death was not unexpected. He had been battling post-polio syndrome for years, which had gradually limited his mobility. Yet, despite his physical decline, his mind remained sharp, continuing to inspire discussions on the future of humanity, space exploration, and artificial intelligence. Clarke's passing marked the end of an era in speculative fiction. Alongside contemporaries like Isaac Asimov and Robert A. Heinlein, he had redefined science fiction, elevating it from pulp entertainment to a serious literary genre that explored profound philosophical and scientific ideas. His most famous work, 2001: A Space Odyssey, co-created with filmmaker Stanley Kubrick, continues to shape the way people envision the future of space travel and artificial intelligence. Clarke's firm belief in the boundless potential of human ingenuity was reflected in his work, as was his pragmatic understanding of the challenges that technological progress brings. The immediate consequences of his death were tributes from scientists, astronauts, and writers alike. The scientific community, in particular, acknowledged Clarke as a thinker who had anticipated many technological advancements, from satellite communication to the rise of artificial intelligence. Unlike some authors whose reputations fade after their passing, Clarke's legacy only grew stronger as the world he had imagined continued to materialize in real life. Clarke's death serves as a reminder that while individuals pass, their ideas endure. His influence extends far beyond literature. His predictions about space exploration, digital communication, and artificial intelligence have shaped real-world technological advancements. His vision of the future, one that balanced wonder with caution, remains relevant as humanity moves closer to the spacefaring civilization he often envisioned. Immortalized through his writing, Clarke's name is etched in the annals of both literature and science. His novels and essays continue to inspire dreamers, engineers, and explorers, ensuring that his vision of humanity's future among the stars will never be forgotten. His life and work underscore the power of storytelling in shaping not just culture, but the trajectory of civilization itself. Karen Dalton, a folk and blues musician whose haunting voice and raw interpretations captivated a devoted following, passed away on March 19, 1993, at the age of 55. She died from complications of AIDS, a diagnosis that reflected the devastating impact of the epidemic, particularly among marginalized artists and musicians of her era. Dalton had struggled with addiction and poverty for much of her life, retreating into obscurity despite her immense talent. Her death went largely unnoticed at the time, a stark contrast to the reverence she would receive in the years that followed. Dalton's passing did not create immediate shockwaves in the music world, as she had largely disappeared from the public eye. Unlike many of her contemporaries in the 1960s Greenwich Village folk scene, such as Bob Dylan and Joan Baez, she never achieved mainstream success, and by the time of her death, she had been living in seclusion in rural New York. However, in the years following her death, a growing number of musicians and critics rediscovered her work, leading to a posthumous reassessment of her contributions to folk and blues music. Dalton's death, like much of her life, highlights the struggles of artists who resist commercial pressures and remain true to their unique artistic visions. She refused to conform to the expectations of the music industry, which ultimately left her without the support or recognition that might have sustained her career. Yet, as history has often shown, the passage of time has a way of amplifying the voices that were once overlooked. Today, Karen Dalton is immortalized through reissued albums, documentaries, and tributes from modern artists who cite her as an influence. Her distinctive voice, often compared to Billie Holiday's, continues to resonate with new generations of listeners, proving that artistry can transcend time. Her story serves as a reminder of the fragility of creative lives and the enduring power of music to preserve the spirit of those who might otherwise have been forgotten. Scoey Mitchell, the trailblazing comedian, actor, and director, passed away on March 19, 2022, at the age of 92 due to kidney failure. His death marked the end of a long and often underappreciated career that challenged racial barriers in television during a transformative era for Black entertainers. Though he never reached the mainstream recognition of some of his contemporaries, Mitchell's contributions to comedy and television remain a significant part of entertainment history. Mitchell rose to prominence in the late 1960s and 1970s, an era when Black actors were still fighting for leading roles and equal opportunities in Hollywood. He was one of the first Black actors to star in a network television sitcom, Barefoot in the Park, 1970, which was groundbreaking for its time. However, behind the scenes, his clashes with network executives over creative and racial issues led to the show's cancellation after just one season. His unwillingness to compromise on his artistic and cultural integrity reflected the larger struggles Black entertainers faced in an industry still resistant to change. The immediate consequences of Mitchell's passing were relatively quiet in mainstream media, highlighting the industry's tendency to overlook pioneering figures once they fade from the public eye. However, for those who recognized his contributions, his death served as a reminder of the countless Black artists who paved the way for future generations without receiving their due recognition. In the wake of his passing, retrospectives and tributes from fellow entertainers and fans helped to reintroduce his legacy to a broader audience. Mitchell's death serves as a reflection of how society remembers those who break barriers but never fully receive the accolades they deserve in their lifetime. His story mirrors the struggles of many Black entertainers of his generation, fighting for representation, challenging industry norms, and ultimately being overshadowed by a system that did not always reward their contributions. While he may not have had the lasting fame of some of his peers, Mitchell's influence lives on in the continued push for diversity and equality in Hollywood. His work is preserved in television history. His stand-up performances remain an important part of Black comedy's evolution, and his contributions are increasingly acknowledged as part of the broader movement toward greater representation in entertainment. Richard Beckinsale's death on March 19, 1979, shocked the entertainment world. At just 31 years old, the beloved British actor, known for his roles in Porridge and Rising Damp, died suddenly in his sleep from a heart attack caused by a congenital heart defect. His unexpected passing robbed television of one of its most promising comedic talents and left fans and colleagues reeling. Beckinsale's death came at a time when British sitcoms were flourishing, providing an escape for audiences navigating the social and economic upheavals of the 1970s. His boyish charm and natural comedic timing made him a household name, and his performances helped define the era's comedy landscape. His sudden loss was particularly jarring given his youth and rising stardom. He was actively working on new projects, including a sequel to Porridge at the time of his passing. The immediate consequences of his death were both personal and professional. His colleagues, including comedy greats like Ronnie Barker and Leonard Rossiter, were devastated. Productions had to be reshaped, and the industry was forced to confront the fragility of life, even for its brightest stars. His passing also left a personal void, particularly for his young daughter, Kate Beckinsale, who would later carry on his legacy in acting. Beckinsale's early death amplified his legend in a way that often happens when promising talents are taken too soon. Like James Dean or Marilyn Monroe, he became frozen in time, forever young, forever on the cusp of even greater success. His work continued to be celebrated, with reruns of Porridge and Rising Damp ensuring he remained in the public consciousness. His passing serves as a poignant reminder of the unpredictability of life and the lasting impact of those who bring joy to audiences. The way he is remembered, through tribute documentaries, continued admiration for his work, and the enduring success of his daughter, illustrates how figures in entertainment live on beyond their years. Beckinsale may have left the world far too soon, but his warmth and talent remain immortal through the laughter he brought to millions. Andrew Wood's death on March 19, 1990, marked the tragic end of a rising rock star whose potential was never fully realized. As the charismatic frontman of Mother Love Bone, Wood was poised to become one of the defining voices of the emerging grunge movement. However, his struggles with addiction culminated in a heroin overdose that left him in a coma. He was taken off life support 3 days later at the age of 24. His passing reflected both the dangers of the rock and roll lifestyle and the darker realities of the Seattle music scene, where substance abuse was an all too common affliction. Wood's death had immediate and far-reaching consequences. His band, Mother Love Bone, had just finished recording their debut album, Apple, which was expected to catapult them to mainstream success. Without their charismatic leader, the band dissolved before it could achieve the fame many believed was inevitable. However, Wood's passing indirectly led to the formation of Pearl Jam, one of the most influential rock bands of the 1990s. His former bandmates, Jeff Ament and Stone Gossard, formed Temple of the Dog as a tribute to Wood, collaborating with Chris Cornell and future Pearl Jam members Eddie Vedder and Mike McCready. This project laid the groundwork for a new era in rock music. Wood's death amplified his legend in a way that echoed other musicians who died young, such as Jim Morrison and Janis Joplin. While he never lived to see the explosion of grunge in the early 1990s, his influence was deeply felt. His flamboyant stage presence and poetic lyrics set the stage for what would become the signature sound of Seattle's music scene. His legacy endures through Apple, which was released posthumously and continues to be celebrated as an overlooked gem of the era. Wood's story is a sobering reflection on the dual nature of fame, its allure and its peril. His death reminds us of the fine line between creative brilliance and self-destruction, a theme that has long fascinated audiences. Today, he is immortalized through music, with his songs still cherished by fans and his influence evident in the work of those who followed. His brief but impactful career serves as both inspiration and cautionary tale, underscoring the fleeting nature of life and the enduring power of art. Jimmy Breslin, the renowned American columnist and journalist, died on March 19, 2017 at the age of 88. His death, attributed to complications from pneumonia, was a reflection of the natural decline of a man who had spent much of his life navigating the pulse of urban America, particularly New York City. Breslin's death marked the end of an era in American journalism, as he was one of the last of a breed of reporters known for their deep commitment to telling the stories of ordinary people, those who lived on the margins of society. Breslin's writing was marked by a keen eye for the underdog and an unflinching critique of political and social systems. His natural death, while not unexpected due to his age, represented the loss of a voice that had fiercely championed the working class and exposed the injustices of power. His death resonated particularly because it occurred at a time when the media landscape was undergoing significant transformation, with the rise of digital journalism challenging traditional forms of reporting. The immediate consequence of his passing was a wave of reflection on his contributions to journalism. Tributes poured in from across the media world, with many recognizing Breslin as a master of the craft, someone who could capture the essence of a story, no matter how small, and elevate it to a level of significance. His passing didn't so much amplify his legend, but solidified his place as a critical voice in the media, one whose legacy would live on through his extensive body of work. Breslin's death, however, also underscored the challenges of the journalism industry in the 21st century. As traditional print journalism wanes, the loss of such a figure serves as a poignant reminder of the importance of accountability in media and the need for reporters to remain connected to the stories that truly matter. In this sense, his death reflects not just the end of a life, but the changing tides of an industry he had shaped and defined. Breslin's memory, like those of many figures who leave an indelible mark on history, will be immortalized through his writing. His unique ability to connect with the public and shine a light on the often overlooked truths of society ensures that his influence will persist long after his passing, reminding future generations of the power of storytelling and the unrelenting pursuit of truth. Nadia Cassini's death on March 19, 2025, at the age of 76, marked the end of a tumultuous life that spanned the worlds of Italian exploitation cinema, music, and television. She passed away in Reggio Calabria, Italy, following a long illness. Cassini's death was not a result of any violent or sudden accident, but rather the consequence of health complications that had gradually affected her in her later years. Cassini's passing can be viewed through the lens of her era, an era marked by the explosion of genre cinema, especially in Italy, where exploitation films like Commedia sexy all'italiana reached their peak in the 1970s. In this context, Cassini's career was both emblematic of the era's tastes and reflective of the challenges faced by women in the entertainment industry at the time. She rose to fame in a genre that balanced on the edge of titillation and comedy, with Cassini herself becoming an icon of both beauty and controversy. Her roles in films like Star Crash and La Dottoressa, Ci sta col colonnello, captured the playful yet often problematic dynamics of 1970s Italian cinema. The genre was known for its light-hearted, often risque plots, but it also highlighted the limited roles available to actresses like Cassini, who were celebrated for their physical appearance rather than their acting prowess. The immediate consequence of Cassini's death was a wave of nostalgia and reflection on her work, particularly from fans of the Italian film industry and those who admired her as a pop culture figure. While her passing didn't alter the course of history, it did evoke a sense of finality for an era of cinema that has largely faded from the mainstream. Cassini's death serves as a reminder of how quickly fame can burn bright and fade away, leaving behind traces of a bygone time. Her departure also touches upon broader themes of memory and mortality. Throughout history, we have seen how figures like Cassini, whose fame was often tied to their appearances or provocative roles, are remembered more for their cultural imprint than the actual legacy they leave. The values of the time, particularly the objectification and commodification of women in film, are echoed in the way she is remembered. Her death, while largely unmarked by political or social upheaval, forces us to consider how we immortalize such figures, through retrospectives, fan clubs, and the occasional cultural reference. In the case of Nadia Cassini, it is through her contributions to an influential genre that, while fading, continues to inform modern discussions of film and gender.